Bye-bye. Did you see my BookTube mojo fly out the window at the end of my last video? No, neither did I, but somehow it's 3 weeks later and I haven't uploaded anything else. Sure, I've been busy at work, but we've all been busy at work. And it's not that I haven't been reading, because I've read some amazing books in April. I don't know. It took one comment from my bratty 15-year-old son and I'm going, oh, maybe I shouldn't be doing BookTube. No, he didn't mean anything by it, and it's just 15-year-old boys being 15-year-old boys, but I think I felt like a bit of an imposter doing this. But anyway, let's move on, Leah. So hi, I'm Leah, and welcome to Hide and Seek, and welcome to my, what shall we call it, April reading ramblings. Let's just start at the beginning and the book that killed my BookTube mojo. So John, my husband, and I have a John and Leah book club where we take turns each month to pick one book that we will read together and then discuss. Now, our book tastes are widely different. John's very much a non-fiction, satire, social commentary type reader, occasionally a thriller, whereas I'm very much more literary fiction, classics, just completely different, but we do tend to find common ground. Now, I'm firmly blaming John for this. He picked The Lebs by Michael Muhammad Ahmed, released just in March this year by Hachette here in Australia. Can a book be confronting and disgusting and gross, yet simultaneously pretentious and a bit of a wank? I have so many thoughts, as Matthew Sharapa would say. I have all the thoughts, and this book and my ability to discuss this book in a review, I think, is what stumped me here on BookTube. Hopefully I can find a way to talk about it, because there are so many thoughts. On the Leah and John book club, April's not being successful either, to be honest. It was my turn to pick, and as I try to pick something that leans more to John's taste than my regular taste, I picked Jock Sarong, The Rules of Backyard Cricket. Again, an Australian book, this time a thriller that was released a couple of years ago. I heard really good things about it, and I've started a couple of times, but ended up putting it down from my point of view as right book, wrong time. And I'm really actually looking forward to it. But John's a bit ambivalent, so I gave him another option of A Man Called Ove, which I think is the one he is going to finally read through. Now, this is actually my in real life book club pick for June, must be June. And so it gets me in good stead to read that earlier. John and I both read The Scandal by Fredrik Backman, which was released in the States under the name Beartown by the same author. So yeah, we think we will read this, so hopefully it will be a good book. Now, last week I thought, yay, Stella Prize is out, let's do a couple of videos, because I've got so many thoughts and books to read about that, because I'd borrowed the rest of the short list from my library, and I loved them. I loved Michelle de Cresta, which I didn't think I would. I loved Chrissy Neen, which I expected to, and I really loved the Shakoufi Azar, The Enlightenment of the Green Gage Tea. I loved them. And then the only book I didn't even consider to be the winner was picked. Tracker by Alexis Wright was the winner of the Stella Prize. Now, this ties in very interestingly with the discussion that both Simon from Savage Reads and Britta from The Second Shelf about literary versus popular books. And this is a real anomaly with the Stella Prize. As I mentioned in my shortlist review of the shortlist for the Stella Prize, this is an amazing book. It definitely is a wonderful, thought-provoking, almost academic text on a particular man at a particular time in Australia's history. I just think that the wider appeal to encourage readers, and not just avid readers who actively seek different books, is not there. I think many a bookseller will be quite unsettled or unsure of this as the winner of the Stella Prize. Now, I'm not diminishing this book, because it is a very important book, but I don't think it's opening the doors to other female Australian writers. I think there were other picks. Now, on that note, my giveaway for the Stella Prize with my random generator, and I did go all through that. So the winner was Laura. It's not going to come up. Laura Fry. So I'm really excited to be sending that to Laura. So Laura, email me or send me a direct message through Twitter or Instagram, or just send your email down below so I can contact you and send you your copy of Terra Nullius. I'm very excited to be sending that book overseas. So thank you to everyone who entered into that giveaway. I'm going to try and have a few more Australian book giveaways because I think it's really important to spread the love of Australian books all over the world. What else have I been reading? Another bookish bullshit moment, for want of a better term. I borrowed The Red Clocks from the library by Lenny Zumas. Now, I borrowed this after a really good review from Chris from Chris's Bookish Cauldron. I'll link that up here and down below as well. Now, I hadn't had a chance to start it, and it was sitting on my bedside table, and at night I had a glass of water and it tipped everywhere, and can you see that? It went all through the book, so I had to pay for the book. By the time I paid the surcharge for the library, it was $47. $47, $50 to replace a book I'm not sure I'm going to read, but I do trust Chris from Chris's Bookish Cauldron, as I said earlier. I do trust his opinion, so I look forward to actually getting through it. But I can't believe $47 of bookish money has gone to replace a library book that I hadn't even read yet. The rest of my bookish bullshit, and I've got to stop swearing. So this week I was supposed to be on a buddy read with Ange from Beyond the Pages and a whole lot of other booktube ladies who I'd almost barged in onto a buddy read of Mary Stewart, who I do like as an author, and they were reading Thornyhold by Mary Stewart. Now, I had this book, I knew it was in the house, and I'm searching all through the house. We're in the middle of reservations, so there are boxes everywhere, and I was so frustrated because I knew I had it. It was sitting there. I had it out. It was sitting on the kitchen table. I knew it was there. And then all of a sudden yesterday morning, my mum comes to visit me at work and goes, "Oh, just returning your book. I really loved it." And I'm going, Mum, just tell me you're borrowing my books. I don't mind lending my books, but I just wanted to have it with me. What was I reading that was really good? And again, back to Ange. The book of the month so far to me, John Steinbeck, East of Eden. Now, being an Australian, the great American novel is not something I generally tend to pick up. Not that I don't think they have literary merit. I do. But because there are stories of my own home and great Australian novels that I do need to read through. So when Ange said she was doing this read along, I jumped in because I knew I had this. I'm going to bring it closer so you can see the magnificence of the ugliness here. It's fantastic in its ugliness. I knew I had this fantastic copy of East of Eden that I had bought at a second-hand shop for 50 cents. Bargain. What an amazing novel. I'm glad I didn't read it earlier. I'm glad I didn't rush through it. I'm glad I could sit there and savour it. Much like Thornbirds that I spoke about in the My Pleasures tag that I had done earlier in March, this book is the sweet spot for historical fiction for me. So it's currently an older book, you know, in this instance written quite a number of years ago, but it was already an historical fiction at the time it was written, and so therefore they do tend to age well. This is a fantastic, sweeping family saga. I don't need to explain what it is. I love the biblical references, the good versus evil, the just the whole saga of this, how Kathy or Kate is just the devil incarnate. I liked how they did that. I really just loved the dichotomy of the brothers in each of the generations. I couldn't get past thinking of James Dean in here as Cal, but that's okay. But wow, I just loved this book, and thanks Ange for hosting such a great read along. I'm not going to jump into Far From the Madding Crowd. I think I've mentioned a couple of times that Thomas Hardy and I are not friends. So we'll see. We'll save Thomas Hardy for a little while. Another great book on the recommendation of another fellow booktuber, was Fireboy by Sami Shah. Now, Sami is an Australian author of Pakistani origin. He was born in Pakistan but now lives here in Australia. And Nashwa from Nashwa Reads, who lives in Pakistan, recommended this book, and I loved it. It's a young adult fantasy, urban fantasy, but it's gritty and realistic and really grungy. There's a second half to this book called Earthboy Duology. I hate that word. There's a second half to this series, and it's a really good, fun YA. Now, I think it's really interesting. It is housed in the YA section, but it is pretty eye-popping in its sex and its language at times. The protagonists just tend to be, you know, just teenagers. So really, should this be YA? That's always a question I ask. I've had two buddy reads recently. One, The Prime of Miss Jean Brodie with Robert from Barter Hordes, which was a wonderful experience. Oh my goodness, this is a great book. And reading this book with a retired school teacher was a fantastic discussion point. I'll link our buddy read vlog at the top here, but if you really want to do a buddy read, pick a short book, as I said before in my other one, and pick a book that you can have lots of discussions. But this was great. I'm so on the Muriel Spark train. She is definitely one of my favourite authors, jumped right to the top. Now, another one that I had was with Heidi, a rather impromptu Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race. I'd noticed on her Friday reads that she was reading this book, and I had just started it that day. So we ended up having an impromptu Twitter discussion as to how we're doing it. It was great to read through this. Now, interestingly, a British book, and Heidi lives in Maine in the United States and me here in Australia. It was really interesting to see how our cultural and national identities shaped how we viewed this book and how we experienced this book. I've got an idea for a video to talk about this and Ta-Nehisi Coates' Between the World and Me, and Stan Grant Talking to My Country, or Anita Hess Am I Black Enough? Two books that cover similar themes from an Australian point of view. I've got a video that sort of links those together in my mind, so hopefully that comes off. Have you ever had one of those weeks, fortnights, months where BookTube has been interesting? I've been consuming a fair bit, but I just haven't had anything felt like I haven't had anything valid to say. So thank you for stopping by. Thank you for persisting with this rather rambly video, and hopefully I'm back soon with something a bit more structured and a bit more interesting. But have a fabulous day.